profits and not losses this morning. Rotus will be our guide to make sure we get profits alone. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Omas. Good morning, good morning. Hope you are good. And good morning to all our viewers, listeners out there.
And now that you've mentioned the listeners and of course viewers, because we've got people who would always go over to YouTube to get this. It's not enough to hear our voice. They always want to see the faces, in addition to the voice. So we thank them greatly for being part of the YouTube family at youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Subscribe and leave your comments there. But then for those who would stay with the radio would be on 0809-444-0981 will be where we like to read your comments. That's the OG. They know what to do, but if you're new, let's get your comments in addition. Rotus, I see on your trade this morning is quite a lot. So let's pick it up from, I see what it's looking like, the fear of to be or not to be, spend or not to spend. Where is Emefiele's currency? Where is it right now? Can I still spend the old money? Take us through that, what's happening with the old currency.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this either yesterday or the day before, where I wasn't quite sure if the federal government had decided to extend whether or not we can use the old notes, because there was a Supreme Court order in place that said we can continue using the old notes until the end of the year. So now we understand now that the federal government is now seeking an extension of the use of old notes from the Supreme Court. So that's what they're asking for now before the deadline of December 31st. So that tells me that there are probably not enough new notes in circulation because I assumed, I'll speak for myself, that when they sought that extension, or rather when the Supreme Court, the states that were suing the federal government and the central bank, I assume that during the time that this was right before the election, that February period, that between that February and end of the year, there would be more notes that would be new notes that would be printed, and this would give enough time to just, purge the old notes and just have new notes in circulation. But if the federal government is seeking for an extension of the old notes, then I suppose we're just going to continue. If the Supreme Court grants it, I don't see why the Supreme Court will not do that. But that just means that we'll continue to have old and new notes in circulation. And to be honest, I haven't really seen that much. I think I only have one new notes in my wallet. So all the notes I've been getting from ATMs and from point of sale people, they've all been old notes.
I understand that the CBN has also adduced a reason of not being able to print. That's why they're asking for this extension. That's been coming forward from them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, this thing has been on since the election, Omas. That's a long time. That's a number of months, So, if you're saying if they're coming at it from a cost basis, or they're saying maybe they don't want to flood the market with more notes because you have too much money in circulation, and that has inflationary pressure, inflationary outcomes, then okay, but does that mean the whole exercise was a waste? Is that what that means? And then you just, whatever new notes are in circulation, you just keep them there, and then you're just perpetually going back between old and new notes. It's a kind of disorganized to me. I think we should just make a decision either way. If we're using old notes going forward, then boom, maybe we'll put the new notes in a museum and say this was a historical moment to remember. That's how I'm seeing it.
Okay, Rotus, before we rest this currency matter and maybe get to resurrect it somewhere in the future when the judgment is delivered, does this have in any way affect the value of our currency in terms of, because we have old and new circulating? What does it, any impact on the value of the currency?
Not really. Not really. But Nigeria has had too much. The money supply has been a little too high because there has been intervention programs and all these things going on. So money supply is already high enough. And if you've got too much money in supply, then that's too much money chasing too few goods, which is going to make the currency weaker. So we already have that existing issue in Nigeria in terms of why inflation is high, in addition to all the other issues that we have, the structural issues with bad roads, bandits affecting farmers and so on, and then our import issues. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the issues that can give you a weaker currency if you have too much money in supply. So you're actually right. But at this point, perhaps the government is just going to try to either not print any new notes and just go with the old notes. A decision has to be made either way.
Now, this takes us to the House of Reps, and of course, we're expecting the national budget to see if we are going to retain the budget cycle starting from January. But I see that some members of the House are already asking for a ban on certain items that can be produced locally. Talk us through this and what impact would it have on the economy?
Yeah, this ban, that, ban. That's it. So look, it's essentially they're trying to bring back that 41 item, or is it 43 item restriction from the CBN, where the CBN wasn't giving foreign exchange at the official window for certain items because they're trying to boost local production. So of course that one they've removed that. But the issue is when banning stuff because you want to boost local production is just not the answer. If you can produce enough of that local item, then people will gravitate towards it. Nigerians are already facing a high cost of living. So you don't need to tell me that if you are locally producing rice and it's cheaper than the rice I'm importing, you don't need to ban the imported rice. I would easily gravitate towards the locally produced rice because it's cheaper. So just boost the supply of the locally made items, make the conditions for making those items easier, and you automatically produce more. And you see, that's why I like the law of markets. You just move that way automatically. You don't need to keep importing. But there's a reason why we keep importing. We keep importing because it's cheaper than some of these locally made items, and it's just easier, to get access to them. So I mean, it's not all the House of Reps pushing for it. It's only some of them. I don't think this will go anywhere, but let's see.
And this in itself, okay, let's just quickly let them know we can get their thoughts in on 0809-444-0981 as the response to any of the issues we're raising this morning on Business Express. And the next issue is still saying there's a school of thought that's just believe that no matter the economic theories or samples you relate that seem successful anywhere in the world, bring it back here. Why is this like it seemed hard to get them to provide results in a ban? We go back and forth. You almost were sounding like Femi Kuti, bang, bang, bang in a way when you were talking about it, but walk us through this.
Exactly. Look, I was at a conference yesterday. This was at a really nice, one of the nicest hotels in this Lagos, and there were foreigners there, right? And they were sitting on panels talking about, different matters in the economy. And NEPA struck, just to say colloquially. We had blackouts, right? So you can imagine, I don't know, we are used to it, yes, but I mean, me just sitting there looking at these people from the Netherlands, from Germany, from South Africa, from other countries, just sitting there, the whole place went black multiple times. That production, that blackout impacts your production. If you're a House of Rep member, why don't you ban blackouts? Why don't you ban the ability for Nigeria for volatile electricity? Why don't you focus on that? If you focus on that and you give Nigerians constant electricity, cost of production will fall. And when cost of production falls, you'll be able to boost the production of local items. And when you boost the production of local items, the price will come down. And when the price comes down, people will not import. So we keep taking, what's that saying? You take
one step forward, 3 steps.
3 steps back, taking the wrong, you're addressing the symptom or whatever instead of the cause of illness, things like that. Just focus on the main thing. And the thing is, they don't want to focus because it's much, much harder, to fix that. So the easier thing is just to turn around and try and sound or look patriotic by saying you want to ban foreign items. Do you think Nigerians automatically want to just take foreign items that cost more? No, they want to use local items, but the business environment is just not there to make cheaper locally made products.
Well, I like to strike one blow to sound patriotic at this moment. Look, South Africa was in that room. They were there also going to begin to look like they don't have the load shedding.
Exactly.
Let's not even they should not even feel like they should not feel like
Relax.
they
They should relax.
So Rotus, let's get on to our final item on the tray for you this morning. MTEF is what the Senate is considering right now, and I see them pegging the Naira to that's the Naira to the dollar at 700. Rotus, walk us through this MTEF and how realistic it will be.
That's the medium-term expenditure framework for, is it 2024 through 2026 or so? And look, every time this drops, we always look at whether or not these metrics are realistic. You've already pointed to the exchange rate, 700. As we speak, I think it's closer to 8 on the official market, 790 something. Parallel market is over 1,000. Can you get to 700? I don't know. Maybe it's because Wale Edu said that the Naira is supposed to be at 700. All of a sudden, that's the magic number now. You have, which was the other one? Inflation at 21.4% for 2024, 20% in 2025, and 18% in 2026. So they're projecting inflation is going to come down. As we speak, inflation is 27%, right? And there are forecasts that it will continue to climb. So, you just wonder, where's the other one? Crude oil production at 1.7 million barrels per day. We're barely there. We're like 1.1, or is it 1.3? This one, projected revenue for 2024 of 16 trillion Naira. Really? 16 trillion? You barely did what? 6 in trillions. We've been in single digits in the last couple of years, so I don't know how you want to get to 16 trillion Naira revenue by next year. So these projections are they are too rosy, Omas. They're not in line with reality.
Yeah, even the oil price projection for the MTEF is what I'm looking at, even at $73 per barrel. That's if all factors stay the same way.
Yeah, and then so the thing is, the way that works, anything over that, if oil prices are higher, what's supposed to happen is that the excess goes to so if oil prices average $80 now, so that's an extra $13. That extra, for every barrel you produce with the extra $13 per barrel, that's 80 minus or is it 83 or whatever, minus 73 or whatever. That difference now goes to the excess, supposed to go to the excess crude account or so. So look, yeah, you're right. It depends on metrics next year. Next year is an election year. You got elections in the US. You got elections in the UK. I think you have elections in South Africa. You've got we'll have to see how geopolitical things work out. There's still a war in Ukraine. There's a ceasefire, I think I hear, for Israel and Gaza or whatever. So look, there's a lot that could cause oil prices to be volatile next year. If you're in Nigeria and you just want to hope for higher oil prices so that we can can stay alive.
Rotus, your tray is clear, but I just look at, because there's this school of thought that also will tell you that every time a shot is fired, like a war goes in some other region, it is time for some regions to rejoice because there will be supply of oil. But one is wondering why, in this case of the Israeli-Palestinian issue, why haven't we seen any of that coming up into play?
You mean their impact on oil, or you mean?
Yes, on oil supply and price.
Okay, so what we saw, I think the oil has started to fall these last few days. Oil fell because OPEC was supposed to meet, I think, on Sunday to decide what to do about production, because Saudi Arabia and Russia have been trying to boost oil prices by cutting production. They postponed the meeting. Oil started to fall because traders got a little nervous as to why the meeting was being delayed. But normally, yeah, with Middle East tensions, you think it will impact supplies because you don't want it's spreading. So it's a wait and see approach. We'll have to see what happens.
All right, thank you, Rotus, for guiding us to where the money would be and how to make profits this day. But let's pick up the messages from the clients this morning. See them pouring hard and fast right now. Babatunde Alao comes up with this one. Rotus, the current government should take a firm decision on which currency to stick with. If we have more of the old note, let us continue with the same and avoid the cost of printing new ones. On the area of ban of some items, why not boost the local items and use price to discourage patronage of imported goods? I hope this government have a direction. Babatunde Alao, that's your message. And I'll find this message here from Fine Oluburuko, regular. It says, I, for one, will prefer we maintain the old notes and let's go the new notes, or we gradually withdraw the old notes from circulation. Finally, National Assembly shouldn't carry us back to a Buhari era of clueless banning of items. Fine Oluburuko's message there. Yinka Bolu left a message here. But those people spraying new ones at parties, where are they getting it? We can joke about it, but it's a serious issue. It's been alluded that there is a new note cartel in banks, and that has to be looked into. And then it goes on. I believe the items can be locally sourced, shouldn't be imported or made less attractive to importation by imposing levies. Point is, we don't have the excess dollars to support importation, and we need serious monitoring for the locally produced goods to avoid rip-offs, which is common to Nigerian manufacturers. Then I've got Gilbert, who brings a historical perspective to business every time, as you observed yesterday, Rotus, from Festa, Gilbert Musa. It says, on the proposed ban of foreign items, like Rotus said, we need to fix the root cause before thinking of banning. In 1985, Babangida placed a ban on importation of rice to Nigeria. Years after, did we stop to import rice? Question hanging in the air right now. So
there you go.
Let's go. Final message here. Yeah. Ali leaves us with a message here. I wonder why no one is talking about the war in Congo. Does Congo not have impact if the war on Africa, and then that's it. What say you?
Yeah, he has a great point. In fact, even there's some really not terrible stuff going on in Sudan as well, with someone.
Yes.
Yeah, so we seem to have been overshadowed by Israel and Ukraine. There's some stuff going on the African continent that should give us some concern. But great messages from all our listeners as usual. Mas, thank you so much.
Rotus, have a great day. And someone is calling, are we getting to 7 a.m.? Rotus. Cheers, Rotus. Have a great day. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. And thanks to everyone for your messages. And then we'll say thank you. Let's do it again tomorrow. Good morning.